One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Hi everyone. The book which I am going to speak about today is an autobiography of a youngest Nobel Peace Prize recipient and a Pakistani girl who spoke and stood against Taliban's oppressive rule and advocated the rights of the girls and their education in Swat Valley, Pakistan. This book was published in year 2013 when she was only 16 years old. The same year, she got a chance to speak in United Nations. UN decided to celebrate her birthday, 12th July, as Malala Day. The very next year, in 2014, when she was only 17 years old, she became the co-recipient of 2014 Nobel Peace Prize with Kailash Satyarthi of India. The book gives account of her early life before she gets Nobel Peace Prize. This book has become relevant once again when after 20 years Taliban have taken control over Afghanistan forcefully from the government. Afghan girls and young women are once again under the threat. They can go under many restrictions like denial of girls' education and the right to work. Women's rights can be suppressed violently as it happened in the past. After reading this book and seeing the development of Taliban in Afghanistan, I feel myself fortunate that I live in a country where I am safe. I have freedom to do anything which I want to do. Girls and women can go to school, colleges, offices, shopping, or any other places where they want to go without any male escort. The book starts with a prologue in which she narrated the incident which took place on 9th October 2012. That was the day when her life changed. She was on her school bus in the narrow mud lane of Haji Baba Road in Swat district. After giving her exam, she was returning back home and a masked man boarded her school bus and asked, "Who is Malala?" Malala Yousafzai and two other girls were shot by the Taliban gunmen. She was hit in the head with a bullet and remained unconscious for next 10 days. Her condition was critical. At first, she was in military hospital, then shifted to Rawalpindi Institute of Cardiology and then was shifted to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, UK. Doctors and nurses told her about the attack and she came to know that she is on another land without her parents. Her parents joined her little later. She also came to know that people around the world were praying for her recovery and sending her messages. Life gave her a choice. She could have lived a quiet life or she could make the most of the new life which she received in a new land and new situations. She chose the second one. Bullet could not silence her. She, with the help of her father, established Malala Fund, which is a non-profit organization which work for female education. Malala has described her life history along with the history of Pakistan in her autobiographical book. Malala has divided her book into five parts. In part 1, before the Taliban, Malala described her life in Mingora, Swat Valley in northwest Pakistan. She was named after Malalai, the greatest heroine of Afghanistan. She further goes into history and explained the origin of her name from the history of Malalai of Maiwan, a brave girl of Afghanistan who fought against Britishers. She was born in Pashtun family. Pashtuns are tribal people split between Pakistan and Afghanistan. They are guided by Pashtunwali code that stresses hospitality and honor. She writes in detail about the history of Swat, which was separate from Pakistan and was a princely state. After partition of India and Pakistan in 1947, Swat came under Pakistan. She explained about the place where she lived, Mingora, biggest town in Swat Valley. That was the land of Buddhist statue. Buddhist came there in 327 BC and it was a Buddhist kingdom. Islam came there in 11th century. Malala further tells about her family. She is the daughter of Ziauddin and Torpekai Yusufzai and has two younger brothers, Atal and Khushal. Malala's father was a role model and inspiration. He was an educationist and was a poor at the time of her birth. She presented an account of her father's background, her grandfather Rohin Amin, uncle Sayyid Ramzan, her five aunts, and about discrimination between girls and boys in the patriarchal society of Pakistan. She also wrote about her mother. She comes from a family of strong women and men, is very beautiful, pious, and kept rosas. She prayed 5 times a day. She also does social work despite of the fact that she was not much educated. Both her parents had a love match marriage and they had mutual understanding, support, and respect for each other. Malala's father always shared things with her mother and took her opinion, which was unusual in her patriarchal society. Malala also provided us the brief history of Pakistan, the birth of the nation, and the military coup and Islamization under Zia-ul Haq, 1971 civil war, and partition of the country. Zia-ul Haq arrested the elected Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and hanged him in Rawalpindi jail. He was the leader of common people and his execution shocked everyone. She wrote about General Musharraf's military rule on Pakistan, 9/11 incident, and America's war on terrorism. She wrote about earthquake and flood which devastated the valley along with the terrorism. Her father had a chain of school, Khushal School in Swat Valley. Due to her father's influence and support, Malala also developed a thirst for knowledge and she and many other girls were enrolled in her father's school. She was doing well in her studies and was one of the topper of her class. She mentioned about her friends Moniba, Malkai Noor, Shazia, etc. She wrote about changing situation in Swat Valley. A local mufti was against the modern education and promoted the madrasa schools. Malala's father had a confrontation with him. In the second part of the book, The Valley of Death, she wrote about Taliban rule. In 2007, Taliban took control over the city. It was led by Maulana Fazlullah or Radio Mullah as he delivered influential radio lectures on Sharia, which was Islamic law. They implemented brutal version of Sharia law in Swat Valley. They banned girls from attending school. They also banned the modern education and co-education. Women were ordered to remain under parda and inside their home and in burqa. They were only allowed to go out if any male relative accompanied them. They murdered the people or destroyed things and buildings which they found anti Islamic. Malala was inspired by her father and against the Taliban's threat and denial of her education. She spoke about right to education publicly. In 2009, she started writing a blog for BBC Urdu. To hide her identity, she wrote with a pseudonym name Gulmakai. But her identity was revealed soon. She and her father advocated the right of girls to attend school. She started giving interview in print media and on television. She was becoming a public figure. In 2011, she was nominated for International Children's Peace Prize. An award is Pakistan's National Youth Peace Prize. Malala and her family started getting death threats due to her activism. She wrote about Red Mosque incident and first female Pakistani president Benazir Bhutto. Benazir Bhutto was a role model and offered hope to the people of Pakistan, but was murdered. People of Swat were living under the terror of Talibans. They killed people and bombarded schools. She also wrote about the tension between Pakistan and America and how US force killed Osama bin Laden, who was hiding in Swat. The third part of the book, Three Bullets, Three Girls, Malala wrote about the incident of 9th October 2012 when she was only 15 years old and a Talibani gunman fired at her and her two friends when they were coming back home from the school. The bullet hit the left side of her head and neck. After the initial treatment in Pakistan, she was sent to UK by a chartered plane of Royal Family of UAE. In the fourth part of the book, Between Life and Death, she wrote about her life and treatment in Birmingham, UK, and how she received support from her government and international community. She went through multiple surgeries, including facial, nerve, and paralyzed left face, removing a portion of her skull to avoid swelling of brain. Luckily, there was no major brain injury, so she recovered and continued her education in Birmingham. In the fifth and the last part, A Second Life, she wrote about her survival, Dr. Fiona, and other medical team members who supported her in New Land. She wrote about her worries to be far away from her homeland and family, and about her worries that how her family will pay the expenses of the treatment. She becomes the global icon and finds out that Pakistan's President Asif Zardari came to meet her and paid Malala's medical bills. She and her family received the diplomatic passport and got permission to live in Birmingham. On her 16th birthday in 2013, Malala gave a speech in United Nations on women's right to education, and it was decided by the United Nations to celebrate her birthday as Malala Day. She becomes a prominent figure and established Malala Fund, a non-profit organization to promote education for every girl. She also co-authored her autobiography, I Am Malala, with Christina Lamb. Those who like reading non-fiction books and want to support the rights of education to the girls should must read the autobiography of Malala. Thank you for watching.